Turn off the lights. If you can, turn on a fan. Tonight, you don't need to go anywhere. We're just going to take a short trip back in time, about 3,500 years. Don't worry, it won't last long. But when you return, you'll look at the broken faucet or the not-so-cool air in your home with a strange sense of gratitude. If you're ready, let's begin. If you enjoy this journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can support me by leaving a like on the video. The first thing you notice is warmth. Not the aggressive, alarm-blaring, snooze-button-slapping kind of wake-up you might be familiar with in another life, but a gentle, persistent warmth that seeps through the mud-brick walls of your home and settles across your skin like a patient cat waiting for breakfast. The sun has been up for a while now, doing what it does best, rising over the Nile without asking anyone's permission, completely indifferent to whether you're ready to face the day or would prefer another hour of sleep on your decidedly non-memory foam sleeping arrangement. Your eyes open slowly, reluctantly, the way eyes do when they know there's no snooze button to negotiate with. The ceiling above you is a familiar pattern of wooden beams and dried mud, crossed with shadows that shift as the morning light filters through the small window opening. No curtains, of course. Curtains would imply you have both the luxury of privacy and the textile surplus to waste fabric on blocking out light you'll need anyway. The window is just a rectangular hole in the wall, which is honestly very efficient when you think about it, though thinking is not something in that slow, piece-by-piece way that happens when consciousness returns. Your back registers first. It has opinions about the reed mat you've been sleeping on. Strong opinions. The kind of opinions that suggest it would very much like to file a formal complaint about the absence of box springs, pillow-top mattresses, or really anything that isn't woven reeds laid over a mud brick platform. But your back doesn't get to file complaints, because this is simply what sleeping surfaces are, and your back doesn't know any better. It just knows it's slightly stiff, which is a normal part of waking up, like breathing or existing. The sounds of the morning drift in through that efficient rectangular window. The Nile is doing its thing, flowing, as it has done every single day of your life and every single day before that, stretching back further than anyone can remember. There's a particular sound to it, a soft rushing whisper that never quite stops, the kind of white noise that people in another time might pay money to stream through electronic devices to help them sleep. You get it for free, all day, every day, whether you want it or not. A bird calls out somewhere nearby, probably perched on your roof or on the roof of your neighbor's identical mud brick home. It's not an alarm, but it's definitely an announcement that the day is happening bird things to do, and it's going to do them loudly. Then right on schedule, you hear it, the rooster, your family's rooster, who has apparently decided that he is the most important creature in all of Egypt, more important than any pharaoh, more vital than the Nile itself, and whose sacred duty is to inform everyone within a half-mile radius that he is awake and they should be too. His crow splits the morning air with the confidence of someone who has never doubted his purpose in life. He crows again, and again. He's very committed to his work. You consider briefly continuing to lie here. The reed mat isn't comfortable exactly, but it's familiar, and there's something to be said for familiarity. Your body is warm, the morning is still relatively cool, and moving requires effort. But the rooster crows again, and you can hear stirring from the other room where your family sleeps. Someone is already up, probably your mother, because someone is always already up, and that someone is usually her. With a breath that's half sigh, half acceptance, you shift your weight and begin the process of sitting up. Your muscles protest mildly, stretching and waking in their own time. There's no rushing this. There's never any rushing in the morning, because what exactly would you be rushing toward? The day will unfold at the same pace it always does, measured by the sun's journey across the sky rather than by any device, not something you track. You swing your legs over the edge of your sleeping platform, feet finding the packed earth floor. It's cool against your soles, smooth from years of feet walking the same paths across the same space. The floor doesn't need sweeping yet, That's an afternoon task, after the day's dust has had time to settle. Morning floors are still clean from yesterday's sweeping, relatively speaking. Standing requires a moment of adjustment. Your body remembers that it's supposed to be vertical, even if it's not entirely enthusiastic about the transition. You stretch, arms reaching upward toward that beam-crossed ceiling, feeling your spine extend and your shoulders pull back. No yoga mat required. No instructional video playing on a screen. Just you and your body, doing what bodies have done since bodies existed, trying to work out the stiffness of sleep. The room around you is simple in a way that would probably be called minimalist in another context, except minimalism implies choice, and this is just what rooms are. Your sleeping platform, a small wooden chest for the few possessions you own, a clay water jug in the corner, and hooks on the wall for your clothing. Everything has its place because there isn't room for things not to have their place. The walls are bare mud brick, undecorated except for the natural patterns in the dried mud. No paint, no posters, no photographs of places you've never been. Just walls doing their job of holding up the roof. You move toward the water jug, your feet following the familiar path across the floor without requiring much input from your still-waking brain. The jug is clay, rounded and practical, filled yesterday from the Nile. The water inside is cool, or at least cooler than the air will be in a few hours. You pour some into a small bowl and splash it on your face, feeling the immediate shock of wetness against warm skin. It's not a shower. Showers don't exist in any form you could imagine. It's just water doing what water does, making you slightly more awake and significantly more wet. Your face drips back into the bowl as you blink away the water. No mirror to check your appearance. No reflection to judge whether you look presentable. Presentable isn't really a concern when everyone looks more or less the same. Sun-darkened skin, simple linen clothing, hair that does what hair does without the intervention of products or styling tools. You exist in your body without the constant visual feedback of what that body looks like, which is either very freeing or completely normal, depending on how you think about it. The smell of bread drifts in from the other room, which means your mother has already been to the communal oven or is heating yesterday's bread over the cooking fire. Bread is breakfast. Bread is also lunch. Bread is frequently dinner. Sometimes there's beer, which is less like there are onions or fish if the fishing was good. But bread is the constant, the foundation, the thing you can count on because grain is what the Nile Valley does best, and bread is what you do with grain. You reach for your clothing, a simple linen kilt that wraps around your waist. Linen is what everyone wears because linen is what grows here, and because anything heavier would be absurd in heat that will, in a few hours, make you question why humans decided to live in this particular part of the world. The linen is clean, or clean enough, washed in the Nile and dried in the sun, which is the only laundry service available and works surprisingly well, all things considered. Dressing is quick because there isn't much to put on. The kilt wraps, ties, and you're done. No buttons to fumble with, no zippers to zip, no complicated layers or accessories. Fashion is functional and function is simple. Your feet remain bare because shoes are for special occasions or for people who can afford them, and you are neither having a special occasion nor able to afford them. Besides, your feet know every rock and rough patch between here and anywhere you need to go. They're well-trained feet. You emerge from your sleeping room into the main living space, where your mother is indeed tending to bread over a small fire. She glances up, nods, says nothing because nothing needs to be said. You're awake. The day has begun. He's checking on the small plot of land where your family grows vegetables, or perhaps he's already headed toward the work site. Your younger sister is grinding grain in the corner. The rhythmic sound of stone against stone, providing a steady percussion to the morning. The bread your mother hands you is warm, dense, and slightly gritty with the sand that gets into everything in Egypt. You accept it without complaint because complaining about sand in your bread would be like complaining about the sun being bright. Technically valid, but ultimately pointless. You eat slowly, sitting on a low stool near the doorway, watching the village come to life outside. Other families are emerging from their homes, which look exactly like your home because why would they look different? Everyone has the same materials, the same needs, the same basic design that works in this climate. Children are already running between houses, their voices high and excited about nothing in particular. A neighbor walks past carrying a water jug on her head, balanced perfectly without hands, heading toward the Nile. Someone else is leading a donkey, loaded with something, baskets probably, or tools. The rooster crows again, still convinced of his own importance. You take another bite of bread and watch the sun climb higher, turning the sky from soft pink to harder blue. The day is warming up, which it will continue to do until afternoon when it becomes genuinely unpleasant, then gradually cooling again toward evening. This is the pattern. This is every day's pattern. The predictability is either comforting or monotonous, and you've never known anything else, so it's just reality. You finish your bread and drink some water from a cup your mother offers. The same Nile water that's in everything, that flows through everything, that is everything in this civilization built along its banks. The water tastes like water, slightly earthy, completely familiar. No coffee exists to jolt you awake, no tea to sip contemplatively, no juice or milk or any other beverage option. Water and beer, beer and water. These are your choices, and you're having water because it's morning and beer is for later. Your mother speaks finally, reminding you that you need to be at the work site soon. The pyramid doesn't build itself, apparently, though wouldn't that be convenient? You nod, standing and brushing bread crumbs from your kilt. Your sister continues grinding grain, her task for the morning, while you prepare to head out for yours. Division of labor is clear and uncomplicated. Everyone has work. Everyone does their work. The work gets done. Before leaving, you step outside to relieve yourself in the designated area behind the house. Privacy is relative. Sanitation is practical. And indoor plumbing is not even a concept that could be conceived. The morning sun hits you fully now, warm and insistent, and you can already they're all hot days. You walk back around to the front of the house, ready to begin the journey to the work site. The village is fully awake now, humming with the low activity of people doing what they do every day. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Animals make animal noises. Children play games that involve running and shouting. Adults move with purpose or without it, depending on their tasks and temperaments. The Nile glints in the distance, that constant presence, that giver of everything. Without it, none of this exists. Not the village, not the crops, not the civilization, not you. The river is life, literally and completely, and everyone knows it without needing to discuss it. You can see boats already moving on its surface, fishermen casting nets, transport vessels carrying goods up and down the valley. You begin walking, your bare feet finding the familiar path that leads from the village toward the pyramid construction site. Other workers are walking too, a steady stream of men heading in the same direction. All of you part of the same massive project that's been going on for years and will continue for years more. No one is rushing. No one is late. There's no concept of clocking in or time cards or shift schedules. You arrive when you arrive, you work until the work is done for the day, and then you leave. It's simple in a way that would probably confuse anyone used to more complicated systems. The morning air is still relatively pleasant, though you know that won't last. Annual flooding that deposits rich silt and makes this desert valley capable of supporting life. You pass other villages, similar to yours, each one a cluster of mud brick homes housing families doing exactly what your family does, surviving, working, existing in the pattern that everyone exists in. A dog trots past, ribs showing, tongue hanging out on some important dog mission. No one owns it. No one feeds it specifically. It exists in the margins, eating scraps and whatever else it can find, which is apparently enough because there it goes, trotting with purpose. You're fully awake now, your body adjusted to being vertical and mobile, your mind settled into the quiet acceptance of another day. No existential crisis about the meaning of it all. No anxiety about deadlines or emails or social obligations. Just the simple, clear reality of being a person in a place at a time, walking toward work because work is what you do, under a sun that will cross the sky whether you watch it or not. in a land that has been doing this exact thing for longer than anyone can count. The pyramid rises in the distance like a geometric mountain that someone decided to build on purpose, which is exactly what it is. From here, still walking along the dusty path with dozens of other workers, you can see the massive structure taking shape against the pale morning sky. Layer upon layer of limestone blocks stacked with precision that seems almost impossible, until you remember that you're literally part of the workforce making it possible. It's just a job. A very large, very heavy, very permanent job, but still, just what you do for a living. The worksite comes into view gradually as you crest a small rise. It's organized chaos, or perhaps chaotic organization, depending on your perspective. Thousands of workers are already there, moving like ants around the pyramid's base, each person a small part of an enormous operation that somehow functions despite seeming like it absolutely shouldn't. There are no hard hats, no safety meetings, no OSHA regulations because OSHA won't exist for several thousand years, and honestly, everyone's probably better off not knowing what they're missing. You join the flow of workers heading toward your designated list. You're here, therefore you're working. Simple. The foreman, a weathered man whose primary qualification seems to be that he can yell louder than anyone else, is already directing people to their positions. He spots you, nods, jerks his head toward the ropes. You know what that means. It's rope day. It's almost always rope day. The stone block waiting for your team is approximately the size of a small house, which is to say, much larger than anything a reasonable person would volunteer to move. But you're not volunteering. This is employment, ancient Egyptian style, where your compensation includes food rations, beer, and the satisfaction of contributing to a monument that will last forever. No dental plan, unfortunately. No retirement benefits unless you count dying before you get too old to work, which is a distinct possibility, but not exactly a benefit. You take your position along the rope with about 20 other men. The rope itself is thick, woven from papyrus and palm fiber, rough against your palms in a way that will become rougher as the day progresses. Someone has already greased the wooden sledge under the stone block, and workers are pouring water on the sand in front of it to reduce friction. It's surprisingly scientific, this whole operation, even if nobody's writing down the physics equations that make it work. The foreman raises his arm. Everyone grips the rope. He drops his arm and begins a rhythmic chant that serves as both timing mechanism and motivational speech. You pull. Everyone pulls. The stone block doesn't move. You pull harder, still nothing. This is normal. The first pull never works. It's like the stone needs to be convinced that yes, we're serious about this, yes, we're really going to move you several hundred feet uphill. Third pull, something shifts. The block slides forward maybe an inch, which feels like a massive victory because it is. An inch is progress. Progress is good. You'll only need to repeat this approximately 10,000 more times to get the block where it needs to go. The rhythm establishes itself. Pull, step, breathe, repeat. Pull, step, breathe, repeat. It's meditative in a way if meditation involved your muscles screaming and sweat pouring down your back before the sun has even reached its peak. The chant continues, keeping everyone synchronized. If one person pulls at the wrong time, the whole system fails, so you don't pull at the wrong time. Teamwork isn't a corporate buzzword here. It's the literal difference between success and a several-ton limestone block staying exactly where it is. The sun climbs higher. Of course it does. The sun has no sympathy for people pulling massive stones across the desert. Your shoulders begin to burn with that particular sensation that suggests they'd like to file a complaint with management. Except there's no HR department and yorigs into your palms, creating friction burns that will callus over eventually, adding to the collection of calluses you've accumulated from previous rope days. Around you, the worksite hums with activity. Other teams are pulling other blocks. Stonemasons are shaping blocks with copper tools, the rhythmic tapping of metal on stone providing a constant percussion. Engineers, though they're not called that, they're just experienced workers who know things, are checking angles and measurements using tools that would seem primitive except they work perfectly well. Water carriers move between teams, offering ladles of Nile water that tastes like salvation when you're this thirsty. You drink when the water carrier reaches your team, gulping down the lukewarm liquid without caring about its temperature or the fact that it probably contains various microorganisms that your ancient Egyptian immune system handles just fine. The water carrier moves on. You return to the rope. Pull, step, breathe, repeat. The block inches forward, literally inches. The progress is so slow that if you were watching from a distance, you might not be able to tell anything was moving at all. But you're not watching from a distance. You're inside the movement, feeling every fraction of forward momentum in your burning muscles and aching back. This is what building monuments looks like up close. Repetitive, exhausting, unglamorous work that somehow loses his grip. Everyone else compensates automatically, redistributing the weight without discussion or coordination beyond the basic human ability to not let your coworkers fail. The stumbler recovers, grabs the rope again, rejoins the rhythm. No one comments. Stumbling happens. Recovery happens. Work continues. The foreman calls for a brief rest. You release the rope, and your hands immediately cramp into claw shapes that take a moment to straighten out. Everyone sits or squats in whatever shade they can find, which isn't much. The pyramid itself provides some shadow. Ironically, the thing you're building offers the only relief from the conditions you're building it in. You sit with your back against a finished block, feeling the stone's coolness through your linen kilt, and watch the organized chaos continue around you. Someone has brought bread and onions, which get passed around. You eat mechanically, refueling rather than enjoying, though the onion's sharp bite does provide a moment of sensory interest in an otherwise monotonous task. The bread is gritty with sand, as always. You've long since stopped noticing. Sand is everywhere, in your food, in your hair, in your clothes, probably in your lungs. Egypt is sand and stone and the Nile. Everything else is just details. The rest period ends too soon, which is how rest to your position on the rope, hands finding their familiar grip despite the raw patches developing on your palms. The chant begins again. Pull, step, breathe, repeat. Hours pass, measured by the sun's position and the block's glacial progress. You've moved it maybe 50 feet, which sounds pathetic until you remember that 50 feet is 50 feet further than it was this morning. And tomorrow you'll move it 50 more feet, and the day after that another 50, until eventually it reaches its designated position in the pyramid structure. Patience isn't a virtue here, it's a requirement. Nothing about this process rewards impatience. Midday arrives with its full brutal heat. The sun is directly overhead now, eliminating all shadows, turning the work site into an oven where the stones themselves seem to radiate heat. You're soaked with sweat, your linen kilt clinging to your legs, your skin glistening and probably several shades darker than it was this morning. Everyone looks the same, exhausted, determined, continuing because stopping isn't an option. The water carriers make more frequent rounds. You drink more frequently. The water goes in, the sweat comes out, and somehow your body keeps functioning despite the heat that would probably kill someone not acclimated to it. But you are acclimated. This is your normal. Your body knows how to survive this because it's survived it every day of your working life. Another team nearby successfully positions their block onto the pyramid done for the day, or at least done with that particular block. Your team still has hours to go. You don't feel jealous exactly, just aware that they've finished and you haven't. Their success doesn't diminish your progress. There are enough blocks for everyone to move, more than enough, and seemingly endless supply that keeps arriving on boats from quarries upstream. The foreman rotates positions, moving tired workers to the back of the rope where the pulling is slightly easier, bringing fresher workers to the front. It's a small kindness in a job not known for kindness, and you appreciate it when your turn comes to move back. The pulling is still pulling, still exhausting, but fractionally less so. Small mercies count for a lot when you're moving limestone in the Egyptian sun. You notice, during one brief rest, the precision of the pyramid's construction. The blocks fit together with almost no gaps, aligned with accuracy that seems impossible given the tools available. But here it is happening because human beings are capable of remarkable things when they apply patience, skill, and thousands of hours of labor. No machines required, no advanced technology, just knowledge, experience, and the willingness to pull ropes until massive stones end up exactly where they need to be. A bird flies overhead, probably wondering why humans do such strange things. You wonder briefly what the bird thinks of all this. Thousands of people possibly understand. Then again, you're not entirely sure you understand either. Something about the pharaoh's eternal resting place, about honoring the gods, about creating something that will last forever. The reasons exist somewhere above your pay grade, which is to say, above the level of someone whose job is pulling ropes. The afternoon wears on. Your hands have gone numb, which is either concerning or a blessing depending on how you look at it. Numb hands don't hurt, even if they probably should. Your shoulders have moved beyond burning into a kind of distant ache that you're experiencing from far away, as if they belong to someone else. Your legs keep moving because legs don't require conscious thought once they've established a rhythm. Pull, step, breathe, repeat. The chant continues. The block moves forward. Inch by inch, foot by foot, the impossible becomes merely difficult, and the difficult becomes routine. This is how pyramids get built, not through miracles or alien intervention or any explanation more exotic than human labor applied consistently over time. Just people pulling ropes day after day, year after year, until stone blocks stack high enough to scrape the sky. Other sounds filter through your awareness. The tapping of masons, the creaking of wooden cranes lifting blocks to higher levels, the calls of foremen directing their teams, the general murmur of thousands of people working into a single purpose, populated by workers who will eventually return to their villages but who spend their days here, building something larger than themselves. You think about nothing in particular, which is easy when your body is this tired. Thoughts require energy, and your energy is devoted to pulling. Your mind drifts in the space between awareness and autopilot, nodding sensations without analyzing them. Heat, thirst, muscle fatigue, the rope's texture, the sand beneath your feet, the sun's position, the block's gradual movement. Someone starts a work song, different from the foreman's chant, something with actual melody and words about the Nile or the gods, or perhaps just about wanting the day to end. Other voices join in, creating harmony without trying, the natural result of people singing together while doing synchronized work. You add your voice, not because you have a good singing voice, but because singing is what everyone's doing, and being part of everyone is easier than being separate. The song helps. Somehow, it makes the pulling slightly less tedious, gives your mind something to focus on besides the discomfort. Music is humanity's oldest trick for making hard work bearable, and it works even here, even now, even when the work is moving stones that weigh more than houses. Late afternoon brings a slight decrease in temperature, from unbearable to merely oppressive. The sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, which means everyone's tired, but everyone knows rest is coming. The finish line is visible, metaphorically speaking. Your team's block is nearly in position, just a few more feet. The foreman adjusts the angle slightly, calling for more pull on one side, less on the other. The block shifts, rotates fractionally, slides into its designated spot. There's a moment of collective satisfaction when it settles into place, fitting perfectly against the blocks already positioned. Your team has succeeded. The block that was over there is now over here, exactly where it needs to be. The foreman dismisses your team. You release the rope for the final time today, and your hands immediately protest the change, cramping and stinging as blood flow returns to compressed tissues. You shake them out, flex your fingers, and join the general movement of workers heading toward the distribution area where rations are handed out. The ration system is surprisingly organized. You line up, receive your portion of bread, beer, and today apparently some dried fish. No one's getting rich off these rations, but no one's starving either, which is more than can be said for many jobs in many places. You find a spot to sit with other workers from your team, eating in companionable silence because everyone's too tired for conversation. The beer is thick, nutritious, only mildly alcoholic, more like liquid bread than what beer will become in future millennia. You drink it slowly, feeling a slight pleasant buzz that takes the edge off your exhaustion. The fish is salty, preserved, tough enough to require serious chewing. You chew seriously. Around you, the worksite is winding down. Teams finish their tasks, receive their rations, begin the walk back to their villages. The pyramid stands against the darkening sky, larger than it was yesterday, smaller than it will be tomorrow, a work in progress that will continue progressing long after you're gone. Your contribution is one block among thousands, insignificant and essential simultaneously. You finish eating, stand with effort, and begin the walk home. Your body moves stiffly, muscles protesting every step, but moving is necessary, so you move. Other workers walk alongside you, all heading in the same general direction, all equally exhausted, all carrying the same satisfied tiredness that comes from completing a day's work. The sun sets behind you, painting the sky in colors that would be beautiful if you had the energy to appreciate them. You appreciate them anyway, briefly, because they're there and you're there, and sometimes beauty happens whether you're looking for it or not. The village appears in the distance, smoke rising from cooking fires, the Nile reflecting the sunset's colors. Home, rest, the promise of lying down and not moving for many hours. Your feet find the familiar paths automatically, requiring no conscious navigation. You could walk this route in complete darkness, and sometimes you do. Tomorrow you'll wake up and do this again. Pull are a job, just the casual, everyday work of creating something that will outlast civilizations, that will still be standing when languages you've never heard of have come and gone, that will make people thousands of years from now wonder how it was possible. But you don't think about that. You think about getting home, eating whatever your mother has prepared, maybe washing in the Nile if you have the energy, and sleeping on your reed mat until the rooster announces another morning. The pyramid will still be there tomorrow. The stones will still need moving. The work will continue. For now, you walk, one foot in front of the other, toward rest. The village welcomes you back with the smell of cooking fires and the sound of children who apparently didn't spend all day pulling massive stones, and therefore still have energy to run around screaming about nothing. You pass through the outer edge where the houses begin, each one a mud brick copy of every other mud brick house, because architectural diversity isn't really a priority when everyone's working with the same materials and the same basic need for walls and a roof. Your muscles have moved beyond tired into that strange state where they're not sure if they're still attached to your body or operating independently. Each step is a negotiation between your brain saying, "Keep walking," and your legs saying, "Absolutely not," with your legs losing the argument because stopping in the middle of the path would be awkward. Other workers stream past you, some heading to their own homes, others veering off toward the market area where the evening's trading is already underway. The market isn't a grocery store, because grocery stores won't be invented for several thousand years, and honestly, the concept would be baffling. No fluorescent lights, no shopping carts, no checkout lanes, no price tags, no 10 items or less signs that people ignore anyway. Just people who want those things, all conducted through the ancient art of bartering, the original cashless society, functioning perfectly well without credit cards, digital wallets, or any form of currency beyond. I have this, you have that, let's make a deal. You drift toward the market area, not because you have anything to trade, but because it's on the way home, and also because watching other people negotiate trades is mildly entertaining when you're too tired to do anything more demanding. A woman is arguing with a fisherman about the relative value of her pottery versus his fish. She's insisting her pot is worth at least 3 fish. He's countering that her pot has a crack and is therefore worth maybe 1 fish, and only if he's feeling generous. Neither is budging. This negotiation could take a while. Nearby, someone's trading bread for vegetables, which makes sense because everyone has bread. Bread is the universal constant. But not everyone has vegetables. The vegetable trader is doing well, accumulating a substantial pile of bread loaves in exchange for onions, garlic, and some leafy greens that will probably be wilted by tomorrow, but are fresh enough right now. No refrigeration means everything is a race against decay, which adds urgency to trading that buy one get one free sales will never quite capture. A child runs past clutching a small fish, pursued by another child who apparently eats, settling the dispute through a method that involves both children getting lectured and no one getting the fish, which she confiscates. Justice, ancient Egyptian style. You spot your neighbor, an older man who makes rope, which is a vital profession in a civilization that moves stone blocks using rope, examining someone's offering of dried dates. He's squinting at them with the suspicious eye of someone who's been trading long enough to know that not all dates are created equal. Some are plump and sweet. Others are shriveled and questionable. He selects 3 dates, offers a length of rope in return. The date seller accepts. Transaction complete. No receipt, no return policy, no customer satisfaction survey to fill out later. The market's inventory is limited in a way that would make modern consumers weep. There's bread, obviously. Always bread. Bread is to ancient Egypt what smartphones will be to the future. Ubiquitous, essential, and somehow involved in everything. There's beer, sold in clay jars that you're expected to return because pottery doesn't grow on trees and neither do trees, really, not in abundance. There are onions, garlic, fish when the fishing's good. Occasionally some meat if someone slaughtered something, dates, figs when they're in season, lentils, and various vegetables that grow in the Nile's rich soil. What there isn't: coffee, chocolate, sugar, tomatoes, potatoes, corn, rice, tea, bananas, orang grocery stores. The menu options are limited. You eat what grows here, what swims in the Nile, or what can be traded from somewhere else along the river. Variety is not the spice of life. Onions are the spice of life. Sometimes garlic if you're feeling adventurous. A trader from upstream is displaying some copper tools, which attract a small crowd because metal tools are valuable and not everyone can afford them. People touch them reverently, testing the edges, imagining the work these tools could do. The trader is asking for substantial payment, multiple loaves of bread, some beer, maybe a woven basket or two. It's a seller's market when you're selling something people actually need and can't make themselves. You continue through the market, nodding to people you know, which is everyone because the village isn't large and you've lived here your entire life. That's your cousin over there, trading something with someone. That's the woman who lives 3 houses down, carrying a water jug. That's the man whose donkey bit you once when you were 7. An incident you haven't entirely forgiven, even though the donkey is probably dead by now. The social fabric of the village is tight because it has to be. Everyone depends on everyone else in ways that will become less obvious in future centuries when specialization in cities and the ability to buy things from strand know, which means maintaining relationships is practical necessity, not just social nicety. You can't afford to make enemies when your enemy might be the only person within walking distance who knows how to fix your roof. Past the market, you head toward the Nile, because the Nile is where you go when you're covered in the day's dust and sweat and general accumulation of being alive in a desert. The river serves multiple purposes: water source, transportation route, irrigation system, and the closest thing to a combination gym, spa, and swimming pool that exists in this time period. It's a luxury resort if luxury resorts were free, open to everyone, and also contained crocodiles. The riverbank is busy with evening activity. Women are washing clothes, which involves beating wet linen against rocks in a process that's surprisingly effective and also probably therapeutic if you have frustrations to work out. Children are splashing in the shallows, supervised loosely by adults who are also bathing or filling water jugs, or just standing in the water because standing in water when you're hot is objectively pleasant. You wade in, feeling the immediate relief of coolness against your sun-heated skin. The water is murky with silt, which is why the Nile is fertile and also why you can't see your feet once you're knee-deep. You don't worry about what you can't see. Worrying about every possible danger would make life unlivable. And besides, crocodile attacks are rare enough that they're noteworthy when they happen, which means they don't happen often enough to prevent everyone from using the river. The water reaches your waist, then your chest as you wade deeper. You duck under completely, feeling the water close over your head, muffling all sound, providing a moment of complete sensory reset. When you surface, you're slightly cleaner and significantly more refreshed. You scrub at your arms and face with your hands, dislodging the day's accumulation of dust and dried sweat. No soap. Soap exists but isn't common and you don't have any. Water alone does a reasonable job, or at least a job that's reasonable by local standards. Around you, others are doing the same. Bathing is communal, public, and completely unself-conscious because privacy around bodily functions isn't really a concept that's caught on. Everyone has a body. Everyone's body needs washing. Everyone washes in the river. No one cares. Modesty is relative and mostly involves making sure your linen kilt stays tied on, which is more practical than moral. Losing your only piece of clothing to the current would be genuinely problematic. A boat drifts past, its sail catching the evening breeze, heading downstream with a load of something. Grain, probably, or pottery, or stone blocks for some other construction project. The boat's crew waves. You wave back. Boat traffic is constant on the Nile, the river serving as the main highway for a civilization that stretches for hundreds of miles along its banks. Roads exist but are secondary. The river is everything to evening gold. The water supports you effortlessly, the current gentle here near the bank. This is the closest thing to relaxation you'll experience today, floating in the Nile, muscles finally releasing their tension, the day's work behind you, the evening's rest ahead. No spa treatment will ever quite capture this particular combination of exhaustion and relief. Eventually, you wade back to shore because staying in the water indefinitely isn't practical, even if it's tempting. Your linen kilt is soaked, clinging to your legs, but it'll dry quickly in the warm air. You don't have a towel because towels aren't really a thing, or at least not a thing you own. You air dry, which works fine when the air is this warm and dry. The walk back to your house takes you past neighbors sitting outside their homes, enjoying the relative coolness of evening. An old man is repairing a fishing net, his fingers working automatically through a task he's done thousands of times. Two women are grinding grain, talking in low voices about something, probably village gossip, because human nature doesn't change across millennia, and people have always enjoyed discussing other people's business. Your house looks exactly like you left it this morning, which is to say, exactly like it always looks. Mud brick walls, flat roof, small doorway, window openings that are just holes in the wall. Home. Your mother is cooking something over the fire, lentils from the smell, mixed with onions and probably some herbs if she has any shapes bread dough for tomorrow. You announce your presence by simply appearing, because doors aren't something you knock on when they're just openings with maybe a reed mat hanging across them for minimal privacy. Your mother glances up, notes that you've returned and are wet from the river, says nothing because what is there to say? You're home. You're alive. You're hungry. These are the expected conditions of evening. Your father is already sitting near the fire, eating from a bowl, looking as tired as you feel. He works in the fields rather than at the pyramid, but exhaustion is exhaustion regardless of its source. He nods at you. You nod back. Male bonding, ancient Egyptian style, conducted entirely through minimal gestures and mutual understanding of tiredness. Your mother hands you a bowl of lentils and a piece of bread. The bowl is clay, warm from the food, rough under your fingers. The lentils are simple, cooked until soft, seasoned with onion and salt, filling rather than exciting. The bread is yesterday's bread, reheated, still slightly gritty with sand. You eat without complaint because complaining about food when you have food would be absurd. People go hungry. You're not going hungry. This is success. The family eats together in comfortable silence, sitting around the fire as the evening deepens. Conversation isn't necessary. You're all tired. You're all eating. These activities don't require commentary. Your chore. Your mother continues working on tomorrow's bread. Your father stares into the fire, probably thinking about nothing, which is a valid way to spend evening time. You finish your lentils and set the bowl aside. Your mother will wash it later in the Nile, along with all the other dishes, which are few enough that washing them isn't a major undertaking. No dishwasher, no dish soap, no sponges with scrubbing sides. Just water, sand for abrasion if needed, and the willingness to scrub until things are clean enough. The village around you is settling into evening rhythm. Cooking fires glow from other houses. Voices carry in the still air, someone laughing, someone calling a child inside, someone singing softly. Dogs bark occasionally, arguing about territory or food or whatever dogs argue about. A donkey brays in the distance, protesting something only the donkey understands. You move to sit in the doorway, looking out at the village and the darkening sky beyond. The stars are beginning to appear, faint at first, then brighter as the sky deepens from blue to purple to black. There are so many stars, more than you could count even if you wanted to spend your evening counting stars, which you don't because you're too tired, and also because counting stars seems pointless when they're just going to be there tomorrow night too. The Nile is visible from here, a dark ribbon reflecting the last light of day. Boats are mooring for the night, their crews settling in or heading to shore. The river never stops flowing, even at night, even when no one's watching. It flows because that's what rivers do, carrying water from somewhere upstream to somewhere downstream, sustaining everything in between. Your mother joins you in the doorway, sitting beside you in companionable silence. She's finished her work for now, though she'll wake before dawn to start tomorrow's bread. Her work never really ends, just pauses for sleep. Your sister appears with a small oil lamp, which she lights and places near the doorway. The lamp provides minimal light, just enough to see by if you need to see something, which you probably won't because what is there to see that you haven't seen every day of your life? A neighbor passes by, heading somewhere or returning from somewhere. You exchange greetings, simple acknowledgments of each other's existence. The neighbor continues on. Life in the village is like this, a constant flow of familiar faces doing familiar things, the pattern repeating with minor variations but no major surprises. Your father emerges from inside, announces he's going to sleep on the roof where it's cooler. This is normal for hot nights. The roof becomes additional sleeping space, open to whatever breeze might exist and definitely open to the stars. You consider joining him but decide you're too tired to climb the ladder. The sleeping platform inside will be fine. You've slept there every night of your life. It'll be fine tonight too. Your sister is already yawning, her day of grinding grain and helping with household tasks having exhausted her in different ways than your day exhausted you. She disapches, mentions something about checking on tomorrow's bread dough one more time. She moves with the slow deliberateness of someone whose body is tired but whose mind won't rest until certain tasks are confirmed complete. You remain in the doorway, watching the village settle into night. Fires are being banked, their light dimming. Voices quiet. Children who were running around earlier are presumably inside now, lying on their own sleeping platforms, fighting sleep or already surrendered to it. The village is never completely silent. There are always sounds, animals moving, the river flowing, the occasional human noise, but it gets quieter, softer, more peaceful. The evening air is finally cooling to something approaching comfortable. The heat that built throughout the day is dissipating, radiating back up into the clear sky. By morning, it'll be cool, almost cold, before the sun returns to heat everything up again. This daily cycle is as reliable as the Nile's flow, as predictable as the seasons, as certain as the fact that tomorrow you'll wake up and do everything again. You think about nothing in particular, which is easy when you're this tired. Your mind drifts without direction, nodding sensations without analyzing them. The rough mud brick wall against your back, the packed earth under you, The smell of cooking fires and river water. The stars overhead, impossibly distant, impossibly numerous. The weight of your own exhaustion, pleasant now that you're not required the notes simple and repetitive, more meditation than melody. The sound drifts through the evening air, mixing with other sounds, becoming part of the general audio landscape of night in an ancient Egyptian village. You listen without really listening, aware of it without focusing on it. Your mother returns, announces she's going to sleep. She touches your shoulder briefly as she passes, affection expressed through minimal gesture because elaborate displays aren't necessary when you see each other every day. You acknowledge the touch with a slight nod. She disappears inside. You hear her settling onto her sleeping platform, the small sounds of someone arranging themselves for sleep. You should probably go inside too. Sleep is the logical next step, but moving requires effort and sitting here requires nothing, so you sit here a bit longer. The doorway is a good spot, a threshold between inside and outside, between the day that's ending and the night that's deepening. You exist in this in-between space, too tired to be fully present but not quite ready to surrender to sleep. A cat slinks past, probably hunting, moving with that particular feline confidence that suggests it owns the village and is merely tolerating human presence. The cat ignores you completely. You watch it disappear into shadows. Cats are everywhere in Egypt, valued for their ability to kill mice and rats that would otherwise eat stored grain. This cat is doing its job, or preparing to do its job, or possibly just wandering around because that's what cats do. The stars are fully visible now, the sky completely dark, the Milky Way a pale. You don't know those lights are distant suns. You just know they're there, they're beautiful in an impersonal way, and they'll be there tomorrow night and the night after that. Permanence is comforting when so much of life is temporary. Your eyelids are getting heavy, which is your body's way of suggesting that sitting in doorways is fine but sleeping would be better. You agree with your body. Standing requires a moment of negotiation with muscles that have settled into stillness and aren't enthusiastic about moving again. You manage it, slowly, feeling various joints protest. Inside, the house is dark except for the small oil lamp still burning near the entrance. Your sleeping platform waits, familiar and uninviting in equal measure. The reed mat hasn't gotten any softer since this morning, but it also hasn't gotten any harder, and consistency is something. You lower yourself onto it, feeling your body relax immediately into the position it knows, the position it assumes every night. The sounds of the village continue outside, muffled now by walls. Your father is probably already asleep on the roof. Your mother's breathing has settled into the rhythm of sleep. Your sister is quiet in her corner. You're the last one awake, which isn't unusual. You often are, lying here in the darkness, waiting for sleep to arrive. You think about tomorrow, which will be exactly like stones, return home, eat lentils, sleep. The pattern repeats. The pattern will continue repeating. This is life, not in a depressing way, but in a factual way. This is what life is, what it's always been, what it will continue to be for the foreseeable future. But you don't think about it in those terms. You just think about sleep, about the pleasant heaviness in your limbs, about the darkness and quiet, about the simple fact of being horizontal after a day of being vertical. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts scatter and drift. The boundary between waking and sleeping blurs. The last thing you're aware of is the distant sound of the Nile, always there, always flowing, the constant background to everything. Then even that fades as sleep finally, mercifully, arrives. The roof is where you end up, finally, after your body has recovered just enough energy to climb the wooden ladder leaning against the outside wall of your house. Your father is already up here, stretched out on his back with his hands behind his head, staring at the sky like it's the most interesting thing he's seen all day, which it probably is. He doesn't acknowledge your arrival beyond a slight shift to make room, because words would require effort, and effort is in short supply after a day of existing in ancient Egypt. You settle onto the roof's flat surface. still warm from the day's sun but cooling now, radiating heat back into the air in that slow exchange that happens when the sun finally admits defeat and lets the night take over. The mud brick beneath you is smooth, worn by years of feet and bodies, and infinitely more comfortable than it has any right to be simply because you're lying down and not pulling ropes or moving stones or doing anything that requires your muscles to remember they're attached to your skeleton. The sky above is deepening from purple to black, that gradual transition that happens so slowly you can back. It's definitely darker than it was a moment ago. Stars are appearing in that tentative way they have at first, like they're checking to see if it's safe to come out. And then suddenly there are dozens of them, hundreds, more than you could ever count, even if counting stars was something you had the energy to attempt. Your sister's voice drifts up from below, saying something to your mother about tomorrow's bread, and then the house goes quiet as they settle in for the night. The village around you is doing the same, a collective exhale as everyone who spent the day working decides that lying down is the best possible use of the next several hours. Fires are dimming to embers. Voices are fatting. Even the dogs seem less interested in barking about territorial disputes or imaginary threats. The Nile is a dark presence in the distance, invisible now except for the occasional glint of starlight on its surface. You can hear it though, that constant whisper of water moving, the sound that's been the background to your entire life, so familiar that you only notice it when you specifically listen for it. It's flowing right now in the darkness, carrying water from upstream to downstream, completely indifferent to whether anyone's paying attention. The river doesn't need an audience. It just does what rivers do. A bird calls out somewhere, a lonely sound that echoes across the village and fades into silence. Night birds have their own concerns, their own schedules that don't align with human activity. This one is probably hunting, or looking for a mate, or just announcing its existence to the darkness, because existence deserves announcement sometimes. You shift slightly, finding a position where your back doesn't press against any particular uncomfortable spot on the roof, which is impossible because the roof is made of mud brick, and mud brick has opinions about comfort. But you find something close enough. Your father has already achieved whatever state of relaxation he was aiming for. His breathing slow and even, though whether he's asleep or just resting is unclear and also irrelevant. The stars are fully out now, scattered across the sky in patterns that people claim mean something. Gods, animals, stories written in light. You've heard the stories, the ones about how certain stars are actually deities watching over Egypt, how the sky is a great ceiling decorated by the gods, how everything up there has significance and meaning. You don't disbelieve it exactly, but right now the stars are just stars, beautiful in their multitude, distant in a way that makes your own problems seem appropriately small. There's no moon yet, or maybe it already set, or maybe it's just not visible from this angle. The moon does what it wants, appearing and disappearing according to its own schedule, waxing and waning in that cycle everyone knows, but no one fully understands. It's there or it isn't. Tonight it isn't themselves. No competition from that bright disk that usually steals attention. Your muscles are releasing their tension in stages, like they're not entirely convinced the workday is actually over and they might need to pull a rope at any moment. First your shoulders relax, then your back, then your legs, each muscle group surrendering to the reality that nothing more will be required of them until tomorrow. The process takes time, this unwinding, this transition from worker to sleeper. A breeze moves across the roof, barely noticeable but there, carrying the smell of the river and the faint scent of cooking fires and the general aroma of a village full of people and animals all living in close proximity. It's not unpleasant, this smell just familiar. Home smells like this. Everywhere smells like this. You wouldn't know how to identify it because you've never smelled anything else to compare it to. Somewhere in the village, a baby cries, that particular sound that cuts through everything else, demanding attention with the urgency only babies can muster. The crying continues for a while, then stops, presumably because someone addressed whatever crisis the baby was experiencing. Hunger, probably, or discomfort, or just the general outrage of being a baby in a world that doesn't revolve entirely around your needs. The silence after the crying stops is somehow deeper than the silence before it started. Your thoughts are slowing down, becoming less like thoughts and more like vague awareness of existing. You're aware of the roof village spreading out in all directions, the Nile beyond that, the desert beyond that, and somewhere far away, things you've never seen and probably never will. The world is large, but your world is small, and right now your world is this roof and this sky and this moment of lying still. The stars don't do anything. They just exist up there being stars, which is apparently their entire job description, and they're very good at it. No movement, no change, just constant presence, which is more than can be said for most things in life. Everything else changes. The river floods and recedes, crops grow and get harvested, people are born and die, empires rise and fall presumably, though that's above your level of concern. But the stars just stay there night after night, reliable in their unreliability because sometimes clouds cover them but the stars themselves don't go anywhere. You could get up and go downstairs to your sleeping platform. The thought occurs to you briefly, but getting up would require coordinating your body into vertical position and then navigating a ladder in the dark, and the roof is right here, already horizontal, already supporting your weight. The decision makes itself. You're staying on the roof. Your sleeping platform will survive the abandonment. Your father shifts slightly, makes a sound that might be the beginning of a snore or might just be a deep breath. He's definitely asleep now, or so deeply relaxed that the difference dough snake, still noticing things like the texture of the roof and the temperature of the air and the specific pattern of stars directly overhead. There's a cluster of stars that looks almost like a pattern, almost like it could be something recognizable if you squint and use your imagination. You don't squint or use your imagination. It's just stars. Pretty stars, admittedly, brighter than others around them, but still just distant lights doing their distant light thing. Time passes, though measuring it is impossible without the sun's position to reference. Could be minutes, could be hours. The night doesn't care about measurements. It just continues being night, doing night things, existing in that slow, patient way that nights have. No rushing, no urgency, just the gradual rotation of the sky as the earth does whatever the earth does that makes the stars appear to move even though you're pretty sure it's actually the earth moving. Or maybe it isn't. And honestly, the mechanics don't matter when you're lying on a roof too tired to care about celestial mechanics. Another breeze, slightly cooler than the last one, carrying a hint of moisture from the river. The air is drying out as night deepens, the humidity that built up during the day evaporating back into the atmosphere or settling, as due or doing whatever humidity does when the sun isn't actively heating everything. Your skin feels the change, subtle but present, the difference between warm air and slightly less warm air. A dog barks once, sharp and sudden, then stops. Whatever alarmed it has either gone away or been deemed unworthy of further barking. Other dogs don't join in, which suggests it wasn't anything serious. Just a dog being a dog, alert to sounds and movements that humans can't detect or don't care about. Your breathing has synchronized with your father's without you noticing, both of you inhaling and exhaling in the same rhythm, slow and deep, the breath of people who are finished with their day and ready for unconsciousness. It's peaceful, this synchronization, this shared rhythm of rest. The village is almost completely quiet now. Whatever conversations were happening have ended. Whatever children were resisting sleep have lost that battle. Whatever animals were making noise have settled down or moved elsewhere. The silence isn't complete. There are always sounds, the river, the breeze, the occasional creak of a house settling. But it's as quiet as it gets, the kind of quiet that makes you aware of your own heartbeat if you pay attention to it. You don't pay attention to it. Your heartbeat can do its thing without supervision. It's been doing it your entire life without requiring conscious input, and it'll continue doing it while you sleep, which is convenient because managing your own heartbeat would be exhausting, and you're already exhausted from managing everything else. The stars are doing that thing where if you stare at them long enough, they seem to pulse or shim. Stars actually moving. Or maybe the stars are moving. Everything's moving, technically, spinning through space in ways that would be terrifying if you understood them. But you don't, so they're just stars, hanging there, decorating the night. You think about tomorrow in that vague, unfocused way that happens when you're too tired for actual planning. There will be waking up, which is inevitable. There will be bread because there's always bread. There will be walking to the work site, pulling ropes, moving stones, the same as today, the same as yesterday, the same as it's been for longer than you've been alive. The pyramid will be slightly taller. You'll be slightly more tired. The pattern continues. But tomorrow is tomorrow's problem. Right now is right now, and right now you're lying on a roof under more stars than anyone could count, with nothing required of you except breathing and existing and eventually sleeping. No notifications to check because notifications don't exist. No schedules to review because schedules are determined by the sun, and the sun is currently on the other side of the world doing sun things. No alarm set for tomorrow because roosters don't need setting, and they'll wake you whether you want to be awake or not. Your eyelids are getting heavy, that particular heaviness that suggests they'd really prefer to be closed actually, and keeping them open is requiring more effort than it's worth. You let eyes means not seeing stars, and the stars are worth seeing even though they'll be there tomorrow night, and the night after that. But your eyelids close again, and this time you don't fight it. The stars will be there when you open your eyes again, whenever that is. They're patient. They can wait. The darkness behind your eyelids is different from the darkness of the sky, more complete, more immediate. You're aware of it in that way you're aware of things when you're drifting towards sleep, noticing without really noticing, conscious of being conscious but only barely. Your father's breathing continues beside you, steady and slow. The river whispers in the distance. The breeze moves across the roof. The village sleeps around you. The stars shine above you. Everything is exactly as it should be, which is to say, exactly as it always is. You're not thinking anymore, not really. Thoughts have dissolved into something more primitive, more basic. Awareness of warmth, awareness of stillness, awareness of the boundary between waking and sleeping getting thinner, more permeable, easier to cross. The roof is comfortable now, or your body has given up caring whether it's comfortable, which amounts to the same thing. You're horizontal, you're still, you're safe. These are the only requirements for sleep, and you're meeting all of them. Time does that thing where it stops meaning anything. You're not awake but not quite asleep, existing in that in-between state where you're aware of existing but not aware of much else. The stars are still there, probably. These facts are distant now, happening somewhere outside the small bubble of almost sleep you're inhabiting. A sound reaches you from far away, maybe a night bird, maybe the river, maybe nothing at all. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except the slow pull of sleep, gentle and insistent, like the Nile's current, carrying you somewhere you don't need to resist going. Your last conscious thought isn't really a thought at all, just a vague awareness that this is nice, this lying still under stars, this doing absolutely nothing, this perfect absence of requirement or expectation or anything except breathing and being. Then even that fades. The stars continue shining. The river continues flowing. The village continues sleeping. The earth continues turning, carrying you through the night toward another morning, another day, another cycle of the same pattern that's been repeating since before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. But you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about anything. You're just sleeping on a roof in ancient Egypt, under a sky full of stars, breathing slowly, dreaming whatever dreams people dream when their days are filled with stone and rope, and the endless, patient work of building something that will outlast everything. The night deepens. The stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns. The Nile whispers its eternal song, and you sleep as people have slept in this exact spot for thousands of years, will sleep for thousands more, the simple releasing its grip and letting the darkness carry you wherever darkness carries sleeping people. Nothing happens, everything happens. Time passes without passing. The world turns without turning. You sleep without sleeping, or you sleep so deeply that sleep becomes everything, the only reality, the only existence, until morning comes and the rooster crows and the whole thing starts again. But that's tomorrow. Right now there's only this: stars, silence, stillness, sleep. The ancient art of doing absolutely nothing, perfected over millennia, practiced every night by everyone who's ever been too tired to do anything else. The roof holds you, the sky covers you, the night surrounds you, and somewhere in the distance the Nile flows on, patient and eternal, carrying water and time and the endless story of people who lived and worked and slept under these same stars, in this same place, doing the same things, finding the same peace in the simple act of lying down and letting go. Your breathing slows further. Your body releases its last tension. Your mind drifts into darkness. And the night, patient and kind, wraps around you like a blanket woven from starlight and silence, holding you safe until morning returns and everything begins again.